Good morning, everyone. My name is Christine, and welcome to Back to Basics. And with me today is lovely Philip, who is going to share his experiences with addiction and hopefully shine some light on other people who are stuck in it. So, thank you, lovely Philip, for being here and sharing your story. And let's begin. So, um, you were an addict for a long time. When did this all start? What age, roughly?
First of all, thanks for having me on your show.
Oh, you're
I
so
love
welcome.
I love watching. Um, for me, it started. It's multi-leveled for me. I think it started in different ways when I was young, but moved into substance addictions when my first time was 13. So I think, yeah, like I started off smoking marijuana, drinking on weekends, and I had a hard time. I grew up with 3 brothers and they kind of never included me, so I always felt like an outsider, and I think when I used drugs and alcohol with people, um, it immediately put us all on the same level, I felt like I was included, I felt like I was a part of, and I loved that feeling.
Right.
Yeah.
So, how long did it take for you to realize that?
The first time I realized that I had problems with addiction, I was 29 years old. Um, I had been living in Vancouver for about 5 years, and, it had gotten pretty low. I was doing hard drugs by myself in my apartment, not leaving for almost a week, and, I had a really good GP specialist that I had been seeing and for, some health issues, and, that GP's office had a social work office and a counseling office, and I'm pretty social, so I gotten to know sort of all the people in the office, and one of the women I really bonded with was a counselor, and I just felt comfortable going to her and saying that I was struggling with addiction. I had tried to go to a few meetings like Alcoholics Anonymous and stuff, but um, I just didn't understand it. I was opposed to it.
But Philip, how long did it take for you to realize that what you were trying to do was wanting to feel like you were a part of something?
Oh, no, that's like in the last 2 years.
No, okay, because that's to me is, everybody does things for certain reasons, and many times people never understand why they do what they do. And I think it's important to understand, or it's part of the learning process is when you get to that point and you begin to see one of the reasons why you did what you did. So what you shared there was really, really powerful because it made you aware of what it was the void you were trying to fill, you
Yeah,
see? So if people start to look more at what was it they were trying to accomplish, whether it's drugs or food or whatever, it's we're filling something,
totally.
right? So you're saying it took you a couple of years to get to that place where you began to realize that, oh my gosh,
Well,
this go
it's
ahead.
con it's confusing in that moment because, I think I always assumed that if I was working, if I had a job, if I had friends, if I was in contact with my family, things weren't that bad. What was happening with me by myself was my own problem, like, it wasn't anything. I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but, I think the point is that, there was a big part of me that just thought I could do it on my own, that I had to be responsible for everything. And that belief that I was on my own, alone, that kind of fear.
Struggling.
Yeah, that fear that I was living in. um, of not making it was pushing me. The fear was like motivating me to do all the things I was supposed to do without taking care of myself. So I ended up in a very big spiral of that lack of, like, not having enough and
Right.
using drugs to fill that void.
Right.
Yeah.
So so you're looking at where you were and some of the things that you feel put you there because you were trying to find something that you felt wasn't within you.
Absolutely, and the excuses were all around me. Everything
Right.
everything that was happening outside of me was the reason, always.
Right.
I never took responsibility. I never had that part, um, I never had that part of education where, I was able to make myself feel better. I always thought everything else had to make me feel better.
Right. So I know with some people who end up in any form of addiction, um, they tend to do a lot of blaming. Like they blame people for, it's their fault. So how did you move out of not blaming and pulling back into the responsibility?
Honestly, I got sick of playing the victim.
Ah,
I got sick of being the victim.
do you want to say that again?
That's the most important part for
Yeah.
me, was to step out of the idea that things were happening to me. Um, for a long, long, long time, I told
So,
this
okay, do you want to say that again? Because that was so powerful what you just said.
what? Get
That-
already. See, and like this is right now talking to you, um, like my mind is blank, so I just feel things coming through and I just
right.
sort of say them. So
So
if
what you just said was things were not happening to me
yeah, yeah,
because everybody says it's happening to me,
yeah.
and
And
that's the victim mode.
today my realization is that things are happening for me always, and
Yeah.
that's where I get the gifts of lessons. Everything's an opportunity, I find now. So yeah, I told the same story for a long time, and I think it took me getting really bored of that story, like just honestly getting, like, you repeat the same thing enough, it stops having meaning. And I think I was
Right.
repeating the same story to so many people in so many situations that I kind of went, what am I saying to people? Why am I telling people this? Like, what is my goal here? And it's like, oh yeah, right, I need this, I need this, I need that. Okay, so I'm going to keep telling this story, and I'm going to be whatever anyone needs me to be outside of that victim. And I got really caught up in the story. I got really caught up in everything that was happening to me, and I did get sick of it. So at some point, like I said, it was probably just a couple years ago. I just finally said, you know what? I don't want to be a victim anymore. Um, about 5 years ago, I had a situation with my stepfather where I'd had a hard time forgiving him, and that was a pivotal moment in my life, was when I actually forgave myself for not forgiving him, because what I had done is I carried all of that pain and resentment and fear and just awful feeling from what had happened in my childhood. I had been carrying it for 29 years or something, 30 years. And and it defined me, and it defined my relationships with people, including my mom and my dad. And there was a point when I I said to my dad, I said, um, that crazy, annoying, pain in the ass little teenager that I was when I was 13, like, I know, I recognize it now, and I just want to apologize for it. And I'm thinking we're having this great moment. We're gonna hug and we're gonna cry, and he's gonna say he's sorry, and it's gonna be like, ah. And he turns to me and he says, you know that pain in the ass teenager you're talking about? He's like, that was you. And it was like all the blood drained out of my body. I wasn't hurt by it. I wasn't sad. I was lost. I didn't understand. This
Yeah.
isn't how humans work. We have to give and take, and there has to be reciprocity. I don't understand. What am I supposed to do from this point? And what it did is it just it was, I would say, it was probably like an awakening of sorts.
Yeah.
It just kind of made me realize this is who he is.
Yep.
And from there, the work started. And the work, when I say work, I mean the work of looking at my dad as a being with tools that he had learned in his experience that was he was using during his life. And the fact that I'm sitting here with him right now talking, being honest and being myself, but having a little bit of an expectation and not having it met, I got to see that he's just a human being
Right.
with his own experiences, and he did the best he could with the tools he had at the time, because that is all anyone is ever doing. Even when, like, I find I get really uncomfortable when people talk about bad people, people who are evil and people who do bad things, because I have this ingrained belief that everybody is doing the best they can with the tools they have. We don't make right choices sometimes, but I find that those choices that are put in front of us are there for a reason. If we make a choice that doesn't fulfill some aspect of our life in the way that progresses us to a good place and puts us in harm's way, it's not it's not inherently in us to do those bad things. It's that we haven't quite learned what we're going into, and we need a little bit of a more of a hit, like a little bit more
Yeah.
pressure, a little bit more pain, a little bit more discomfort. And I find sitting in the discomfort just for a little while will get me that much more growth in what I
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. Hold on, I just gotta shut this this blind down
Yeah,
because
I know you're gonna be glowing by the end of this.
I'm gonna be glowing. Hang on.
You are glowing, my dear.
Okay. Oh, that's better. Yeah, it's interesting because what you're sharing is so valid and so important because um, people forget that it is vital to for us to learn. If we don't learn anything, then how do we find out who we are? I mean, the more we learn, the more confidence we get. The more we fall down, the more confidence we get to knowing we can pick ourselves up. And I think this is where so many people are trapped in any kind of addiction.
Yeah.
Some addictions are just a little more ghastly than others, but I think at the end of the day, they're all the same.
And I find too, like, when that confidence gets too much, it turns into ego, and all of a
Yeah,
sudden I'll get to a place where I'm thinking that I've got this
yeah,
done. And it's like, and then I'm very quickly humbled.
yeah.
Like, it comes like a bat across the head, and it's like, "No, no, 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 no. Don't go there. You don't belong there. You're
Yeah,
not better than anyone else. You're not
yeah,
so different from anyone else." And
yeah. I
and
think
it's
that
like
the
you always tell me, it's not about everyone else. It has
no,
nothing to do with anyone else. So why would you want to put comparison in your frame of window, right?
yeah. Well, it's like what I believe is, and it's my stairway to heaven. It's just, I mean, so many times I'm standing on that step that I just friggin' climbed, and it was like a 20-foot step, and I got up there, and I'm standing there, and I'm looking out. I said, "Oh my gosh, I can breathe! It's great! I'm gonna have fun!" And then before I even say "boo," I'm back down again. It's a boof, But
Isn't it nice when you realize you can breathe?
yeah,
God, I get there so often where I catch myself holding my breath, like I catch myself resisting that flow, that freedom, that
yeah,
that like yeah. I have so in my job that I'm working right now, I work with homelessness and addiction, but every once in a while in the shelter that I work in, because I do mental health counseling, I have somebody come into my office that you know, has $10,000 in the bank, but can't find a place to rent and is put in this shelter, which is, very institutional, but it's there for a purpose and we do good things for people. However, this gentleman that I was with yesterday, we were sitting down and I could just see the tears welling up in his eyes and I could see his chin quivering and he was trying so hard to hold back that fear. Like he had a fear of crying, like he just did not want to cry. And I was sitting with him and he started telling me about his experience. He started telling me about, this isn't where I was supposed to be. And the beauty of that conversation was it made me realize that I was where I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I felt at home. And like you just said, I could breathe.
Yeah.
And not only could I breathe, I could breathe air into the room that he needed.
Yeah.
And it's not about me.
No.
And it's not about him. It's just
An
what's going
illusion.
on in that moment between
Yeah.
us. It's
Yeah.
almost like a separate entity.
Yeah.
And I have a real big problem with boundaries. I really do. Like I just want to hug everyone and I just
Yeah.
want to like make it better. And like,
Yeah.
he's looking for a place and I've just recently found a place and I'm like, I could rent him a room. And I'm like, I really want to like jump on all this. And that's just like that's old behavior. Like that's
Yeah.
the way that I was when I was trying to save the world, when I was doing more than I should, when I wasn't focusing on who I was.
Yeah.
And it
It's
doesn't make me a bad person to not be like that. That's
yeah.
another thing. I used to beat myself up when I didn't do what I could do.
Yeah. Well, what's beautiful, Philip, and thank you for sharing what you're experiencing with yourself and with where you're working. But I'm listening to you and I'm going, wow, it's so true how everything is a reflection of us and how everything that shows up in our life is really just to show us, the next step or what we need to do. It's like when I fall off the steps, I can choose to sit there on my ass and play the victim role, or I can choose to pull myself up and say, okay, we've got this. We can go one more step. We know how to do this. So everything is about a choice. It's knowing that everything outside of you is just a distraction.
And also, it's funny, Christine and I have been talking for quite a while, and Christine has always said these kinds of things to me, like everything's a hologram, everything's a reflection. And I remember just grinding my teeth when I'd hear that. Like, what is that supposed to mean? I don't understand that. And it's like today, I spend more time recognizing that
Yeah.
things are reflections of myself. And
Yeah.
that to me is growth. And I'm so happy that
Yeah.
I'm there. And I want to just touch on what you said about the stairs because you're absolutely right. Like if I choose to sit in victim mode, I don't progress anymore. I'm either slipping backwards or I'm not moving at all. But there is a beauty to sitting in that discomfort.
Yes.
There is something that is necessary, but it's almost like a super fine line that if I don't know where that line is, that's when I'm in trouble
Yep.
because I need to know when it's time to get up and take that next step.
Oh, you're so awesome.
Well, I learned from the best.
Oh my God, you're so awesome. That is so true too, because it's not about running away from it. It's about saying, why am I sitting here?
Or pushing through it.
Exactly. It's
Like,
not about pushing through it.
no, going
It's
through it.
it's about embracing it and saying, okay, I'm here again. What am I missing? What didn't I get last time?
And if you can't figure it out, that's okay too. Like,
Yeah.
I think I'm a really big self-discipliner. Like, like I really believe I have this thing when someone does something that in my experience isn't right, I very much wanna show that person the right way.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because it wastes so much of my time and energy.
Yeah.
And it bothers me so much, when I go
Yeah.
to sleep at night and I take my inventory daily because I have to I have to go over the experiences I've had in the day so that I know that if there's some way I've acted in that day that wasn't the person I want to be. I need to know how I can either correct it or just choose to be different the next time.
Yeah, it's again, you keep using that word, which is so powerful, is choosing.
Hmm.
It's the power that we have, and I think that so many people are trapped, and they're trapped in their own addiction,
Yeah.
and they think it's a security blanket, but it's a distraction.
But you're right about choosing. Like I choose not to use substances today. I choose not to. Um,
And
oh,
even if you did, so what? Big deal. So you choose for a minute and then you choose
yeah,
unchoose the next minute. That's
absolutely,
okay too.
absolutely. But I've gotten to the point where I'm grateful for what's happening. I'm grateful for the painful moments today, and like
Yes,
those painful moments, though, that's why I was an addict. Is because I'm not supposed to feel this way. I was told life can be beautiful, life can be amazing if, if, and those ifs were all things that were out of my control. All of it. There's nothing in there that I could make
right,
work for my happiness
right.
or my serenity or my peace of mind. Like I don't have control over anything
Well,
outside.
I remember when you were working with clay,
Yeah,
and everything in our life is a piece of clay, and we can mold it, and we can make it work exactly for how we need it for ourselves, because we're the only ones that know what we need.
yeah,
you know and we get to choose if we want a big nose or a little nose or whatever. We get to choose it all. So it's like, I guess where I'm going is that who you are is in the who you want to be, is it within your grasp. You are holding you in your hands,
yeah,
and it's you that decides
yeah. And if you
if
can imagine it, you're there.
yes,
Like I think that's something I've read recently is if you can imagine it, you can have it and be it. And I
right,
mean, when I say have it, I don't mean in your hands. I mean like you can have that
right.
part. You can experience life through that gift.
So, Philip, it's incredible what you've been sharing. It's just so heartfelt, and it's such a joy to connect with you and to be with you right now.
Thank
Is
you.
there anything that you would like to share that could help anyone that feels that they're trapped and they don't see the light? Is there anything that you can share with them that could give them possibly a glimmer of hope?
I think when we started this conversation, one of the first things I mentioned was that I was alone in my apartment using. And that was really difficult, but today it's the biggest key for me, which is I'm a social being. Connection with other people so that I could see that reflection, so that I could see those parts of me in other people. And I could see that when I would meet somebody that was beautiful to me, when I would experience them as beautiful and I would see them, I would know it's possible. But when I was in my apartment and I was locking the door and I wasn't leaving for almost a week, I wasn't experiencing anything else. Like I didn't have any other experiences. And I think the biggest give I can do from this video to anyone who is struggling with addiction is reach out.
Yeah.
Get in the flow.
Yeah, there are people out there that can empower you, but to know that whatever whatever you whatever you discover, or whatever is going to help you, you need to be able to realize it needs to empower you and not make that an addiction.
That's right. Yeah, because it's really, really a slippery slope.
Yeah.
when and it happened for me when I came out of addiction, is to jump onto another addiction,
Yeah.
whether it be food or social media devices, you
Yeah.
know, anything that's available that I can sort of obsess about. And yeah, I think it's just really important to reach out and just trust that everything's working out exactly as it should.
Well, I so appreciate you and I so love you and it's just
This is my pink heart. This is my
yeah.
big pink heart. I love you, Christine. Thank you so much for inviting me on your show.
And I would just like to thank everyone else for listening and through the replay. And if you do have any questions for Philip or for me, by all means, send us a message. We'll be so happy to answer and help as much as we can, because you are not alone in this world. And follow your heart. Trust that your heart will lead you to the right people that can help you find the light within you without giving up your identity.
Lovely.
So, thanks everyone. And if you do have something that you would like to share that you would feel could help other people, please reach out and let me know. From my heart to yours, thank you, everyone. Blessings, and see you next week.
Thanks, Christine.